Good morning. What a beautiful crowd. Probably half of you from halfway around the world to this seminar. Probably half of you. Jeet, is this on?
Yes.
The last time they couldn't hear me because it wasn't on. You're probably some of the half asleep. Today is Saturday, January 11th, 1997. Well, ladies and gentlemen, and honored guests, welcome to San Francisco. And welcome to our first annual Janpan Jeet Kune Do seminar. I'm Alan Joe, a member of Janpan Jeet Kune Do nucleus. Exactly 1 year ago, January 10th and 11th, 1996, history was made in Seattle, Washington. For the first time, Seattle, Oakland, and Los Angeles group was represented gathered together for a 2-day summit meeting to discuss the preservation and perpetuation of Bruce Lee art and science. It was decided by the individual in attendance that the official name of this group would be called Janpan Jeet Kune Do Nucleus. Now, I have the honor and proudly to introduce you to Linda Lee Catwell, who is on the board of directors of the Janpan Jeet Kune Do Nucleus organization. Linda Lee Catwell.
We're only 5 minutes into the seminar, and I am so overwhelmed by your kindness and your friendship and the respect and admiration that you offer to my family because of your respect for Bruce Lee and Brandon Lee. And my family thanks you, and Bruce's family of students thanks you also very much. And I'd like to add my official welcome to you to the inaugural Janpan Jeet Kune Do seminar. This is an historic occasion of significance because I don't think that there's ever been an occasion where so many of Bruce Lee's original students have come together to share their knowledge and experience with Bruce, with you. I know a lot of you have come a very long way and at great expense to be here and to show your respect to Bruce Lee and his teachings, his way of martial arts. And I know in this room there are probably 200 stories of how Bruce has positively influenced your life and the impact of his art and science on your life. And I would like to hear every single one of those. I can guarantee you there are at least 19 more stories among the nucleus members of how Bruce impacted their lives, and those stories they will share with you today. So I want to once again thank you for paying tribute to Bruce by being here today and for helping to keep his spirit and his message alive. Regarding the formation of our organization that we have named Janpan Jeet Kune Do, I will just say a couple of brief things because there's a lot of information in your seminar program that you have that talks about the origin of the name and the logo symbol and how it was derived and its meaning and what the mission of our group is. And we consider all of you part of our group now, so this is now our mutual goal and mission. We came together, as Alan said, last year in Seattle to discuss the state of Jeet Kune Do in the world today, and discovered, as I know all of you know, that there is dissension and controversy and a lot of people who claim to be teaching or practicing Jeet Kune Do who really have no idea what they're doing, and what they do bears no resemblance to what Bruce was doing. So we thought that in order to preserve the foundations of Jeet Kune Do, to assure that the building blocks will go on to benefit future generations, we felt that we needed to choose a name, Janfan Jeet Kune Do, that would distinguish this body of knowledge from other versions of Jeet Kune Do. So that was the origin of the name. It was actually picked out by Bruce's and my daughter Shannon. Just to briefly summarize what the goals of Janfan Jeet Kune Do are, and that is, as Alan said, to preserve and to perpetuate Bruce Lee's body of work, to accumulate and disseminate information about his art, philosophy, and science. For that, we need your help, and that's why we are here in the process of accumulating more knowledge about Bruce's work, how he touched all of your lives, and by sharing our experiences with you. And also, we have established a code of ethics calling for mutual respect of other practitioners and of other arts. So we hope to make it a kinder, gentler world that way, in the world of Jeet Kune Do. This organization, Janfan Jeet Kune Do, seeks only to promote understanding through providing the means for you and other people to understand what Bruce Lee was doing. In other words, or I should say, in the words of Pete Jacobs, a Nucleus member, what we are all about is just to say what Bruce Lee was doing at the time he was doing it. We can't possibly predict in what direction he may have gone. Most certainly we can predict that he would have continued to grow, evolve, change, but we can't say what that was. So all we can do is preserve and spread the word of what he was doing at the time he was alive, and then each individual can build on that. And that, of course, is the most important message of Jeet Kune Do, that it is a personal involvement. A couple of the things that Janfan Jeet Kune Do does not do: we do not certify instructors, we do not test people for qualifications, we do not rank people, we do not set up a code of rigid set beliefs that must be followed, because that is not the philosophy of Jeet Kune Do. This organization is not a martial arts organization per se that is ranked hierarchically at all. We are just want to be a repository of information. So the certification, ranking, and all that kind of thing is between each individual instructor and his students. That's not a function of this organization. So let me just say a couple of words about how our seminar today is organized, and then we will get on with the business of why we're all here. We cannot possibly give you a whole education about Jeet Kune Do in just these few hours we have here today. So this is really an overview of Bruce's work, and we've arranged it according to the eras of Bruce's development in his martial arts life, starting with when he came to Seattle and his growth during that period of time, and then he moved to Oakland, as you know, and his continued involvement there, and then he lived in Los Angeles and the process of his evolution there, so that you also can share and have a feeling for the process of evolution of Bruce's growth. Because, of course, as I said, that is the goal of Jeet Kune Do, is that one personally evolves to the height of one's own potential.
Thanks a lot. I know that Bruce and his son Brandon are looking down upon us, and I think that they can't help but be happy to see such a great group of people that have been dignitaries of Jeet Kune Do that are turning out on his behalf, and so we really appreciate that. First thing we're going to do now is I'd like to take a little bit of time to tell you just a little bit about Bruce. Bruce came in from Hong Kong in 1959, and I was very fortunate to meet him during that time. I met him through his first student, Jesse Glover, James DeMille, Ed Hart, and some other people, and I was taking judo at that time, and I thought that that was the epitome of everything, but they said there was a young Chinese lad down there that demonstrated during one of the seafarer pageants, and they said he's only 18 years old, but he's just a whiz. And I thought, well, I've heard of guys like Oyama and some of those other people that were supposed to be the real martial artists. And I thought, well, what could an 18-year-old show me? But it was very fortunate for me that they arranged a time, and I met Bruce, and we met in this Tubby Gray playfield at the University of Washington. And one of the things that the group always introduced somebody would say, just throw a punch at Bruce, do something to him. And I've never been too fluid. I mean, I've always been a bit clumsy, and so I did my best and threw a punch at him. And all of a sudden, he had me tied up, and he was throwing punches at me. The velocity of the wind was so bad that it just about knocked me out. I became so interested and enchanted that I was about 38 years old. He was 18. I was old enough to be his father. But I saw something there, so I decided to get in and work out with him. But, you know, Bruce was a typical teenager in a lot of ways, and it was very difficult for me, this old man, to be around him very long. And so when we worked out in the play fields and people's backyards and where we could find space, why, I got the hell out of it when we got done with the lessons, because I couldn't be around him too long. He was always doing something perpetual motion, you know. But as time went on, I realized that this young man had the endowment of a great deal of philosophy as well. As he could be telling you a raunchy joke one minute, the lousiest joke that you ever heard, and the next minute he could be spouting something from Lochi or Taoism or Zenism, and it just blew my mind. And I got to tell you, I just got out of the concentration camp, and I was down. I mean, I was just like these Indians out there that you know, have no place to go. At least they think they have no place. And Bruce came along, and through his efforts physically and mentally, he brought me back to where I feel I'm somebody now. I'm just as good as any of you people out there. No better, but just as good. And I think that we all need to have that instilled in ourselves so that we can have something to shoot for. If you're out there limiting yourself and feeling sorry for yourself, you're not going to get anywhere. But anyhow, Bruce came in from Hong Kong, and he was a street fighter out there before he came. And you know, there's an old story that unless you've been blooded, you really don't know what it is out there to get into a fight. And you can be the top technician, but if you really haven't been out in the trenches, you're not going to be able to respond properly because you're not going to know what it is. But Bruce had gone through that experience, and he was endowed in many of the great martial arts systems in Hong Kong. But he chose Wing Chun because to him, that was the most simple, the most economical motion thing that he could adhere to at the time. But even at that point, when he came to Seattle at that young age, he took us and he modified it according to what he thought was good and what he thought was impractical, and he showed us these techniques. Now, I have to tell you that what you're going to see today, the Seattle curriculum, is going to be somewhat classical. But as you get into the Oakland and the Los Angeles chapter, you're going to find out how he, like a sculptor, he just took the pieces and just discarded them and made something beautiful at the end. Okay, now let's get into the footwork. Again, we're illustrating that the weight, the balance is on the back foot, and the distance between the front foot and the back foot is just something is comfortable so that you don't have. If you're not too wide, obviously you're going to lose something. If you're too close, then you're going to not have the stability. But when we move, we're moving so that when the front foot moves, you do not shift your weight. It picks up like a rubber band on your front foot. Same thing going back. It's always balanced on the back foot. Okay, so let's move forward first then. Now, let's move back. Okay, now, if we should move to their right, again, in order to protect the drawing theory, you're going to move with that front foot first, going that way. Okay? Let's go that way a couple of times. Yeah. A couple of times, yeah. So that your groin is not exposed. Now, if you come to the right, then you're going to move your left back foot first, again, so that you do not expose your groin area. Now, later on, Bruce used to call me every once in a while from down in Oakland or California and say, now we're doing this. And he unshackled us and told us that when you move now, you have that mentally instilled in your mind that you're protecting your groin at all times. And now we move with mobility. If you move, just move. Okay. So that now you're not using that theory, but instilled in your mind you're protecting the groin there. Okay. Now, on the other hand, everybody's not going to be throwing a straight punch. If you should come in with a roundhouse punch, then let's demonstrate that now. So it's not a block and a punch, it's simultaneous block and a punch at the same time. Now if we should come in with the other hand also, no, I mean, 1, 2. So you cancel both of them out, okay? Okay, now, the next thing we're going to go into is the 3 different blocks. This is a tongue style, this is a bong style, this is a gong style, and the puk style is coming in like this. Okay, let's get the tongues out first. Again, it's an immovable elbow concept so that when somebody strikes, you're not moving your elbow that much, but you're turning your body just a little bit to cancel that out. Notice that his hand, the inner hand, is simultaneously working in relation to the outgoing defensively. He's in ready situation there. Okay, now let's try the gong style. That would be coming down. And from those strikes like that, it gives you the ability to do something offensively. Okay, now let's try the bounce out, the bent elbow. Notice he's letting the assailant come into him instead of him going into the assailant, so he just sort of dissolves it. Okay, now the hook style, which is a little bit more of a passive type thing, but it does have its purpose. And from that position, he can come in with the back fist if he wishes. Just enough to getting attention.
Then in 1950, we took up traditional skills on Kung Fu. And we did not have the same teacher. He went to go over here and learn, and I had a personal trainer. Now, this is where 1962, this is summer of 1962, James Lee called me on the phone and said, "Hey Alan, I want you to check out this person named Bruce Lee." He heard from his brother that this kid is really good in Kung Fu. Bob Lee and George Lee was taking a lesson in San Francisco that was called Cha-Cha. And during every intermission, Bruce Lee would put on a demonstration of Kung Fu. And Bob Lee was very impressed, and he told James. It just happened that I was going to Seattle World Fair with my family, and James asked me to check this cat out. This cat there, because at those days James Lee was like a street fighter. When he heard Bruce Lee was pretty good, he wanted to know just how good he is. So he gave me the address. I went up to Seattle, and lo and behold, I just happened to live in the Hotel Monticello, which is only 1 block away from Ruby Chow restaurant. I went down early to introduce myself to Ruby and asked if Bruce Lee lives there. He said yes, but he won't be in today. And today, but he'll be in back in the evening around 10:30 or 11 o'clock. So at that time, I went to the restaurant and waited for him. I was kind of nervous, meaning, how does Bruce look? I don't know who he is. So, of course, I had a cup of scotch before my register. If he come in later at 11 o'clock, I think I passed out. But anyway, by 11:15, here showed up this man with real lean, real handsome, with a light gray suit. And he don't even look like a Kung Fu fighter, handsome, lean, this guy's pretty thin, Then I introduced myself, and he sort of checked me out also. I can see by his eyes. But I told him I was from Brooklyn, and Bob Lee was taking dance lesson from you, and this president asked me to find out what you really do in Kung Fu here in Seattle. And then as soon as I mentioned, okay, he relaxed and said, well, let me go change my clothes and I'll come right back down there and we'll grab something to eat. And this is about almost 11:30 at night. So all this time, we talk about Kung Fu, he got so excited that on the way walking to the restaurant, which is not a restaurant, it's a hamburger joint. And he asked me to do a form. Okay, I do a form. He said, that's pretty good, Alan. Gee, you look pretty strong. And I'll try to hit me again. No sooner I tried to hit him than I was all over the place, and then he knocked from me. In fact, he was holding me in his arm. And then he said, that's good. And then we started talking. He brought his books. And from there, we had made good friendship. I went back and reported to James Lee and say, hey, this cat is really something. So through letters and telephone, Bruce decided to come down. And that's how it changed, and Bruce got started in Oakland. I'm too sorry for Taki that I took Bruce away from you, Taki.
As an instructor, Bruce was strict, precise, but patient with the student until they understood each movement. He taught us simplicity, accuracy, validity, and spontaneity, and the directness in our movement and application of our punches, so that in the end, power prevailed. Bruce would concentrate on shortcutting movement and stress that each student must have a good attitude toward his system, to be motivated, dedicated, and patient, to learn and practice the system, to have awareness at all times, and to endure the repetitive training to gain knowledge and practice the art of self-defense. I was very fortunate to have met Bruce. We clicked and became fast, close friends. He was fun to be.
I would like to show you is the simplicity of the art. What happens is a lot of people, they try to rush in on you, and you don't have time to prepare for anything. You just have to deal with what is as it comes. And if you're not instinctively prepared for it, then you could get caught off guard and get clobbered along the way. And one of the things that Jimmy taught us was to be sure that we are constantly hacking away at the non-essentials. So that way we don't have to worry about a whole lot of things to remember, because what you have will come natural. Continue repetition and practice.
Called 5-20 kick. Can you get in your pie chart position, your right position? You guys do. What you do, you kick front, 45, always going back to position side, 45 rear, and rear. Okay, then with your rear leg, front, 45, side, 45 rear, and rear. From here, you go back, you do the same thing on your left side. Front, 45, side, rear, rear. Kicking is the water and the wind. Okay? Two aspects of one kick, like yin and yang. Okay? Tao. Okay? So first we have the water. Let's say we're working on the side kick. Kick, and come back. Okay, now I'm not side kicking. I'm just using water. Coming back, okay? The idea is, it's like a fire hose getting laid out. Hook it up to the hydrant, you hit the water rushes through it. That's your energy. Boom! All of a sudden that fire hose is as hard as iron. Okay, the same thing with your leg on the water. Okay? The second ingredient in the kick is the whip. In this case now, we're not using power, we're just using speed. So when you use the whip, the idea is to make the shoelaces pop, as if you're kicking a gnat out of the air. Okay? So let's say, like, when you're kicking, for example, and you say, well, I haven't got any power on my kick. It's really bugging me. Okay? Work on the water. Isolate the water. Then, when you get back to your kick, you'll have the force you want. Or you say, well, I'm not bringing my leg back. It's not quick enough. I'm not catching anybody with it. Okay, get away from power. Just work on the whip. Just make it fast. Then, go back into mixing water and the whip. Okay? The two together, that's the kick.
We'd like to thank you for allowing us to be here today. It's been a pleasure. And I'd like to introduce again my Aunt Linda. She really did take care of me and taught me a lot in life through the years, and I don't think she really realizes the impact she had on my life. So here's Aunt Linda.
I've known Greg since he was 8 years old. Clifford and I got married and we moved into James Lee's house, and so you've just grown up great.
I'm really grateful to get to know Bruce Lee and the family, and really give me the opportunity to study the game. And about that, when I first started, I had no experience at all. And just no way I can expect it to learn under Bruce Lee. And usually he have a very high expectation. Really teach some martial art that they are very experienced. And for me to come in and have no experience at all, and to this day, I still can't reason why he took me in. But again, I'm very grateful, able to learn from him. Like Mr. Derek and Dennis said earlier, that we are not here to teach, but to share some of our experience with you. I think that's very important. Over the years, I learned a lot from him. Ever since he passed away, I pretty much stick to what he taught me, and improve from there. And I've done a lot of refinement over the years, and got a lot of help along the way from some British students. Hopefully in the last few years, I have a lot of support from some of my students there, and they really, one common goal is to perpetuate and to share our knowledge. And I think in the future, really, future of the British style really rests on the second generation, and not so much. We are sort of pretty much over the hill, but we do have a lot of good knowledge. Each one of us possess something different, something unique. That's why we're here to get together as a group and to unify and to share what we have learned from Bruce Lee. And let's say I'm not going to use my footwork, okay? Just an arm power, okay? Even in boxing, a lot of people in the experience boxer, what they do is just swing, okay? Swing. Before using any the more high stage leverage. Okay? Let's say I'm going to throw a punch in this right here, right? All right? Okay. Now you can see. Are you there? Okay. All right, let's say throw a punch in, all right? Here. All right? Move a little bit. Let's say just use footwork, right? Push off. Okay, move back, okay? Just footwork, okay? The footwork doesn't have to be, the footwork has to be small, it's subtle, okay? Sometimes you do a footwork there, as though that you're not moving, but you are moving, okay? The footwork, take many forms. Once you can see a big step, a good step, slightly movement to get away from it, also generate the power, okay? So footwork can be subtle, can be visible real quick, okay? Can be smooth a little bit, okay? So that's the power here. So when I throw a punch here, right here, nothing here, but go from here, and that's the power. My whole body moving in one straight line, focus, okay? So everything's lined up, and that's a force of power, okay? So this kind of thing that I learned over the years, and what Bruce had taught me, and once you just stand this way, I attack it. You move from here, and you go from here, you take a step, you can hope, you can hit, come back here. What's making a difference right here? Okay? The footwork to carry on with this here is to hit, come back from here. You move in, back again, come back here. Why take a distance? Okay? Just the footwork. Okay?
This thing we're attempting to show you here this time is one of the hardest to really learn. First seen him, he was doing a BOG from 3 steps back. And he would get nose to nose with you and kind of pick you off a little bit. And then you go 1, 2, say, "Do you feel safe?" And first time he said that, I thought, "Are you joking? I can run away and hide before you can get over here." He'd say, "Try and block me." And then, pow! You wouldn't see it till he was about here, and when he hit you, thump! I thought, is he mad at me or what? He really banged me. It took me a long time to figure that out. I'd seen him do BOGs and go boom and close the eyelids. And just quickly, you know. And I thought, why is he hitting me so hard? What he was doing was increasing the intensity. He wanted to really get into it, and he did that on purpose. I thought, well, at first he was mad, and I thought, no, he's enjoying himself too much. He's smiling. You know. I remember one afternoon, he was banging me in the forehead, and he hit me about a half a dozen times, and then I stepped back and I said, "Oh, you're so damn fast." And he smiles and he said, "I'm not fast." He said, "I found many people faster than me." And he sounded like he was mad about it. You know, he said, "I have learned to be deceptive." And so I started looking at it again. I would have went on thinking he was the fastest guy in the world, and if he hadn't have told me himself. I didn't say that, he did. Right? And the thing is, he's doing a number where he is traveling on a direct line to your eye. And later on, we'll hold up some plastic sheets, and if you hold it off to the side, you can see that you've lost that direct line to the eye. And he talked about the principle of the hammer, and we should be using that in our punches as well as this BOG, right? It's like you're driving a nail. Right here. Nothing is moving from the elbow on down. And so he'd start this way, and then he'd put everything behind it. He'd come on a direct line to your eye. Then, as we got into this thing a little farther, I played the game a lot. I've been watching him, and he kept banging me and banging me. But I noticed that I'm gaining. I'm coming closer to blocking him. And I thought, oh boy, I'm really getting it. And then about that time, it reminds me of the saying, just when I was winning the rat race, along came faster rats. You know? He says, okay, block me this time. And boom, he hit me. And I said, aha, I blinked my eyes. He says, well, that could be, but that's not it. He says, there's a split second when you're not with me. And he says, somehow I seem to know when that is. Oh, yeah? I had studied self-hypnosis, and I thought I won't allow that. You know, I won't. I'm going to reject it. You know, we started again. Always he was shifty, fainting around. And it went on for a minute, then another minute. I thought, what the heck's he waiting for? He was waiting for me to think, I ain't gonna make this mistake. I think this one time we must have went 3 minutes. He's still, one of those. And then I felt that, I started to think of something else.
As in the four ranges of combat, as some of you have seen, he basically worked the kicking range, the boxing range, the trapping range, and the grappling range. Usually trapping was just a little bit closer than the boxing range, but he had the concept, which I have in my notes, he believed in trap and hit, hit and trap, trap and trip, trap and choke, trap and throw, trap and takedown. Those are from some of my old notes. I first met Bruce Lee in 1962 at Ed Parker's with my mentor and instructor, Danny Asante. And I didn't see him later until I was in the Army. I was home on leave in California. I was working out at Ed Parker School. And Bruce walked in, and I was sparring, and I was a black belt at that time with Ed Parker. He asked me to spar. And I sparred Bruce, I think it nearly like someone turned on a record in his head. He was moving around, using footwork, and he just kept as Bob Rimmer was doing the BOG, right on the top of my head, he'd play with me. And so I just had to reassess myself on what I was doing, and I asked Bruce if I could become his student. And so all through before I went to Vietnam, ETSI Oakland, I trained with Bruce. There was more contact, more Western boxing added, more trapping.
There you go. Oh, yeah. Okay, let me do it. Let me do the first part fast, because what I want you to do is try to do this non-telegraphic. Here, hand first moves, and in. Again. Second, if he's going to block. Third, all I'm doing is instead of grab first, this hits first and then grabs. Okay? 1, 2. Again, very, very slow. Here. And back fist. Okay? Want to give that a try? The timing on this is important. I've gotten a lot of questions about this. If I come here, he can stop this too. Okay? You go 1, 2, and this is stopped. The timing is important. Watch the direction this hand is moving when I hit, okay? This is important. Do you see that? It is not sitting here waiting for something. The timing is 1, 2, okay? This is hit. This hand is moving that way. Okay? Remember that.
If somebody is, let's say, punching you with a hook, and you go block and hit, if you took a movie film of that, you'd have so many frames. If you went simultaneous block and hit, that's still so many frames. But what you want is not simultaneous block and hit, not fast. What you want to do is to hit a split second. You hear the two sounds? I'm hitting a split second before I'm parrying. So I'm intercepting his attack. That's all I'm doing. Now, the way I'm doing it is from this distance, I can either step, or if I'm close enough, just shoot my hip into it. So I'm not thinking block. I'm thinking, let's move that down and just move. As soon as he moves, I'm going to hit him. Then I'm going to hit him on his intention to move. So all I want you to do first is get a focus glove, put it on your left hand, and get the feeling of he's going to come quick, and I go 1, 2. 1, 2. The second thing, I'm going simultaneous. Simultaneous, and then simultaneous. There you go, 1, 2. And another thing you want to look at is distance. If I can just explain that really, really, really fast, is to get power, like they were talking earlier in the yoga group about the water principle and the width principle. To get power in the punch, it's a certain distance. You don't want to be too close, this close, because you're pushing. What you want is the elbow to extend. Also, there's another thing. Sometimes, some of the way that Bruce, because you got a little bit more of a line, so you can go this way or you can go this way. Now, the idea is that you want to penetrate only 1 to 2 inches, because you want the elbow to snap, so that it's a snapping punch like that. This has to almost separate, okay? So that you've got to have a proper distance. That's another thing you have to work at over and over again. So try to maintain, when you hit the focus glove, about a 2-inch penetration, and make sure that the elbow pops. Bruce used to do it 1-pound weights, till this thing almost separates. All right? So grab a focus glove, on your left hand and try all three ways. Block and hit, simultaneous block and hit, and then hit before the punch hits you.
So the point is if I'm standing in range for Tim to hit me with his hand, and he starts, just like that, and he starts before me, I have to be either that much faster or he has to be that much slower. So again, if I'm controlling the distance, the point is where he has to move to hit you. Because in that moving, that gives you that time factor you need to intercept. There's different times to intercept too, and what we're going to do is I'm going to use an example of intercepting on the preparation or attacking on the preparation. That man's step forward. Now that could later be combined with a punch, or a man is moving into range to launch an attack against you. Timing and rhythm. Here is what I want you to practice. You don't have to go first. If Tim sets the line here, and he takes a step and slide forward, okay, go back again. This becomes set one, the sound, one. Your kick should hit on what? It should hit before, like if I'm here and he moves, before this rear foot finishes moving. Why? So, like I said, I like to ask why. Huh? Why? Okay, because why? There you go. It's one of my guys, typical.
One of your ex-guys.
One of my ex-guys. Because the point is, you are catching him in mid-motion, whether it's a punch, whether it's just a step. And it is that much more difficult for him to counter it. Or to, it's very hard to be suddenly going in and then backwards at the same time. So my point is, I want you to hold the focus glove. You can work lightly, hitting your partner on the inner thigh if you have the faith and trust, which I don't, okay? But again, what I want you to do is work this so that you're here, and when he moves, bang, hit this before that foot finishes moving.
Now this is a famous Bruce Lee's training. What I'm going to do here is I want to just, I want you to catch my hand, please. Okay? The big butterfly, big hand. And as soon as you see me move, it's really important I won't fail. I mean, if I do this, you don't know what it is. I will from total stop. Yeah, you try. As soon as you move, catch it. Okay? Just ready? I'm going to distance control. I want to hit you. Just not forward. Okay? That's what I want you to do. Okay, ready? Am I faster? No, I'm not trying to demonstrate how fast I am. I try to tell you that they have no time, difficult to catch me. But 1967, Bruce caught me every time. Every day. And I was much better then. Now I was still pretty fast for a senior guy like me, huh? Many of you guys are too anxious. They go, what's happened to me? I'm relaxed. I'm relaxed. I don't even consider he's catching me. I don't care. I don't even know where he's having to go over the invisible, inseparable. The first training stage is what? Yang and yin. Now, to me, I study all the technique of Bruce and so on with my own cultural heritage. I began to study Tai Chi. So I went in softness, really yielding. That's kind of my training, for health and so on. And it's my 31st year. I started a year before I took Bruce Lee's JKD. And let me just go through a journey of appreciating the yin aspect of yang. And when the yin is trained, the yang is trained, what happened? Combined fluidity. See, that's the stage we're learning. Now, if we always drink the yang, you never learn the yin. Just like a baby, I was thinking about what I can describe. You got a football team, they only have offensive team, no defense. You see, something very important, both. You see, now, it's not just two different things. One does defense. And then in the JKD is what? The relaxed, soft. When I'm relaxed and soft, my speed comes. very important. I'm not anxious. I don't in as a person. Huh? So we have, I saw all of you very young and anxious. But thinking of the down school, you need to learn that aspect. It's such a joy. The difference here, you come to me, you just brush through, huh? Watch awareness. Begin to the end. You can't, just like society kept assuming. Start, watch it coming. Time is just right. As relaxed as possible. That's a training as a person. What kind of stuff? You know, when you tense up, speed is slow. So I want you to do one thing right now, just prepare up and do one thing. It's not even myself. Gonna punch to me, and it just kind of, gradually with your confidence of it, go faster. It takes that much effort. Just like car, freeway, bump, it goes off the way, There's a little brushing. That's the end of the JKD.
Single direct attack, if you're in a ready position, like my previous presenters had said, if you're in a good balance, anytime they move, you just hit. You can go with the hand or feet. Whatever they do, you just pay back. Pay back, and I'll explain to you why it's payback, because you make more money than I do. Just do this one drill, and what this is going to teach you is balance. If I do my favorite down, and he goes up, I gotta have balance so I can hit here, okay? Or I can hit here. If I'm off of balance, then I gotta start moving and juggling and compensating before I can hit. So this is going to teach you to stay balanced. So when I go down and he goes up, there's open lines, my low line is open. You can go to the knee or you can go to the body, you can go any line that's open. So if I hit down, now you gotta be ready for single rocket down.
And if you had a chance to see Bruce Lee's Lost interview, it's the fact that physiologically we're all essentially the same, which means that the stimulus that results in martial arts parlance in a faster punch for Bruce Lee, a more powerful punch for Bruce Lee, is the same stimulus that's going to result in a faster punch for you, no matter who you are, no matter what your size, no matter what your proportions or dimensions. There's again, a lot of people believe that that's not so, and they look at people like Bruce Lee and they say, gee, look at the speed of him, and look at the power he had. I don't possess that. I mean, what the heck could a guy like that possibly teach you? But step back and take a look at the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is that Bruce Lee, physiologically speaking, was 5'7.5", weighed about 135 pounds. That's not a genetically superior human being. But what did he do with those genetics? That is what I think is where the inspiration and the hope for all of us lies. Because here's a guy who would be up at 3 in the morning hitting heavy bags. Here's a guy that would be spending probably 8 hours a day in training of some sort. And when he hurt his back in 1970, he could not train his body. He trained his mind. He was reading books, over 2,000 of which are in his library, all of which have annotations in them. It's funny, you meet lots of people that have books, and they have very impressive libraries, but if you ever pull one of them off the shelf, it's never been cracked open. You know, Bruce Lee not only cracked it open, he read it, he understood it, he digested it, more importantly, he applied it to things. And that is an exceptional human being only in so much as that he was a smart human being. And that's why his art is a smart or a rational art. It doesn't accept prejudices. It doesn't accept prejudices of people, it doesn't accept prejudices of technique, it does not accept prejudices of tradition. And these are all the great, all the great demons that every individual has to slay, and that is part of the self-knowledge.
I'll just share my introduction to Bruce Lee. I met him right after Jesse met him. I was going to a school called Edison Tech. It was a makeup school for adults who hadn't finished high school and were making up credits to go to university. And Bruce was one of them. He'd come over from Hong Kong and was going to Edison. Jesse was going to Edison. And I had a free class, and I heard that this was an Asian day, that there was a demonstration going on showing some
Chinese fighting. And having been a boxer, like Taki said, I was heavyweight champ for the Air Force for 2 years. I thought I'd go see what this was all about. So I went in there and I sat way in the back and I saw this little fellow leaping around the stage, slapping his feet and making funny noises, and I thought, this is fighting? And then he stopped and talked about how effective it was. I went on to explain Kung Fu. I thought this was funny. I thought, this guy, you know, we don't fight bugs over here. We're tough. We really get it on. So I went up after the demonstration and kind of told him that. You know, hey kid, because he was about 18. So he says, why don't you take a punch at me? Well, there's some girls around and my macho thing. So I fired on him. Worst mistake I ever made. Well, you have to understand, I had an attitude. I was the toughest guy in the world. 225, mean machine. Here's this guy weighed as much as one of my legs. He trapped me, and he's going, anybody home? That was my introduction to Bruce Lee.
Since I'll be supporting me my first invitation to the tournament, Bruce came there to autograph. And he came 2 other times to my luau fundraising in 1978, and he performed for me. He made a big hit. At the time he was pretty popular, getting popular. And take the money. I said, Bruce, I'll pay all my entertainments from Hawaii for $200, $175, whatever. And it's a lot of money. He said, no, I don't want no money. I told you I would help you, so I'm helping you. He said, put that in your competitors fund, travel fund. And later I read about Bruce that he was really, he didn't have money in the open days, right? It was really broke. I appreciated it much more when I read that. I couldn't believe that guy was so big-hearted. So we became really great friends and he trusted me.
But I think one of the most important experiences that I had, he dealt with my family. As my children were growing up, when Bruce became a superstar, the kids would go to school, and they would say, my dad knows Bruce Lee. Oh, yeah. So it just happened one day, Bruce was over the house, and I said, Bruce, can you do me a big favor? He said, what is it, Ralph? I said, well, the kids say that they know you, but the other kids in the class, you know how kids are mean sometimes, they ignore them. So how about, let's go pick up the kids again. He said, wonderful, Ralph, let's go down. So Bruce went into the classroom, and what happened? The class erupted. Everything went wild. The thing about it was Bruce's true friendship. When I shared something with him, and he wanted to share something with me with my family, we did it together. That's wonderful about Bruce.
I first learned of Mr. Bruce Lee from a friend and co-worker. My friend, Mr. Tony Lee, a martial artist himself, told me that Mr. Bruce Lee has got to be the best young martial artist around of this younger generation today. Tony proudly described Mr. Bruce Lee's martial arts skills, talents, and personalism as exceptional. I finally had the good fortune of meeting with Mr. Bruce Lee in 1964. This was at Mr. Ed Parker's first International Karate Championship tournament at Long Beach, California. Mr. Bruce Lee performed there, and other special guests including Mr. Jun Rhee, Mr. Oshima, Mr. Kubota, Mr. Dan Trias, and myself. I was very impressed with Mr. Bruce Lee, and it seemed as though I had always known him. His demonstration of his skill, speed, and strength was spectacular, and the audience responded with excitement and approval.
And he then later on took me to a tournament that he was fighting, and Bruce Lee was sitting there, and Junior was sitting over here to his right. And I had this nice-looking girl, God bless. Anyway, and Bruce looked at me and said, Joey Orville. And I looked and said, Cato. And he left June Reed, and I left my girl.
To be here. Excuse me if I tend to crack up a little bit. I feel like this is like a family reunion for me. And for me, I grew up with a lot of people that you saw today on the nucleus. And I wish my father had been here today. And I I know if he was here, he would tell all of you that he wishes the best for you in your search for truth and knowledge in the arena of martial arts. And you keep striving for your dreams. Well, obviously I met the Lee family when I was born, and although Shannon wasn't born yet, and from that time on, I was to regard Bruce Lee as Uncle Bruce, so with Uncle Richard and Uncle Larry, etc., etc. Brandon was one of the greatest highlights of my childhood. By his example, he helped me to deal with my half Asian, half Caucasian heritage, as well as the Bastilio kids as well. And I tell you, he was like one of my best friends. He could make me smile, he could make me laugh. He was wonderful, he was witty, and like his father, he was a master of practical jokes.
To say that this is an honor is a great understatement. Bruce Lee has meant many.
I'd like to once again thank all of you for being here, for wanting with a passion for the legacy of Bruce and Brandon Lee to survive and to flourish and to work towards that. You are the Jeet Kune Do of the future, and it will go on and be of benefit to future generations if you pass it on. So I thank you so much for being here and for helping us to do that. I want to again thank all of the members of the Jeet Kune Do nucleus. We worked all year to bring this to this stage, and we have many more plans in mind. Keep in touch. We'll be letting you know what we're doing. And I would like to have the members of the Jeet Kune Do nucleus to stand with their wives or husbands and just accept our appreciation. Thank you. Thank you. I would like Shannon to read just one little passage, and it's meaningful, very meaningful to me, and I think it will be to all of you.
Before I read this, I'll put on my glasses, because I know that one thing I inherited from my father was bad eyesight. This is a quote from a novel, and The Sheltering Sky, and it is written on Brandon's tombstone, and was a favorite quote of his, and I would like to read that now. Because we do not know when we will die, we get to think of life as an inexhaustible well, and yet everything happens only a certain number of times. How many more times will you remember a certain afternoon of your childhood that is so deeply a part of your being that you can't even conceive of your life without it? Perhaps 4 or 5 times more? Perhaps not even that. How many more times will you watch the full moon rise? Perhaps 20. And yet, it all seems limitless. And the point of that being that this is one of those times. Thank you.
We want to make we want to express our full appreciation on behalf of all the nucleus members for the 2 people that this wouldn't have happened without their leadership, without their calling all of us members together. So I'd like to present 2 works of art that we've commissioned. And also with that in mind, I'd like to have Dan Lee translate. This first painting is a tree with a mountain in the background, and it's an inscription. And Danley will translate the inscription for us.
I was called upon this afternoon to do a translation, which I'm delighted to do. This, before I say something, I was very impressed with the artist of deep perception and goal of Jeet Kune, because what he said is so appropriate. The poem addressed to Linda says as follows. The young tree has developing its roots, new roots, with the support of surrounding hills, which assumes J.P.D. Newton. It will continue to flourish. Henceforth, Jeet Kune will be passed on from generation to generation. All this development is credit to our beloved Linda Lee Caldwell for her sustaining leadership and nurturing spirit.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I love you all. You're just wonderful. Thank you.
Now the second painting, we can see a budding tree at the top and a waterfall coming from, it appears as though the waterfall is coming from the tree. So it looks like the waterfall, the water is, the source of the waterfall is from the tree. But in actuality, the water from the waterfall is nourishing the tree. And Danley will translate for us.
The poem written for Shannon. To the only heir of Bruce Lee, who will help perpetuate the most respected martial art of Jeet Kune, founded by her father, the dragon.
Thank you so much. It's been a very emotional evening, and I can't say how much I've appreciated getting to know all of the members of the nucleus, and through them getting to know my father. And just thank you for letting me be a part of this. I appreciate it. Thank you.